Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by the Ham Station. Get your new radio or antenna by calling 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com.
It's Ham Radio.
And a good evening to everyone. It's time for Ham Talk Live, episode number 26, Digital Mobile Radio with Tony Tolbert, W9AMT, recorded live on Thursday, August 11th, 2016. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we'll be joined by Tony Tolbert, W9AMT, who's the founder of Hoosier DMR, a group that operates DMR repeaters across the state of Indiana, and he's going to talk about digital mobile radio worldwide. We'll take your calls live in just a few minutes. Last week on the show, I talked about how to get young people into ham radio and ham radio in schools. If you missed that show, or any show, you can catch that at hamtalklive.com. in the archive, or you can catch the podcast that's on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and we're also found on YouTube. A big shout out to Ryan Cutshaw, KD9DAB, and his father Rex. Rex just got his call sign today, KD9GTU. They were here just about an hour ago finishing up running some coax for me, and Ryan was up in the attic. And I'm back on HF from home again, so thanks to them for coming over to do that, and shout out to Rex for getting his call sign. So that's some good news there. Well, get your questions ready to go. After the introduction, you can call us on Skype. The username is Ham Talk Live, or you can call us by telephone. That number is 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. Just be sure to turn down the speakers when you do that. You can also send a question via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @HamTalkLive, and there's also a chat box on hamtalklive.com. We will check all of those as much as we can tonight for some questions for Tony Tolbert, W9AMT, and I'll be back with him right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. Tower Electronics has been the ham's dime store since 1978, bringing connectors, antennas, cables, and other parts to the world. Scott and Jill travel the country bringing their store to you at HamFest, but you can also order online at pl-259.com or by calling 920-435-2973. Stock up on those supplies like PL259 and N connectors, audio cables, mobile antennas, and ham sticks. Their silver-plated N connectors are even in use on the International Space Station. Tower Electronics is a dealer for MFJ, Comet, Daiwa, OPEC, Workman, and Ham Pro Technologies. Tower Electronics online at pl-259.com, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Thanks as always to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show tonight so we can bring you Ham Talk Live. They'll be at the Huntington, West Virginia Ham Fest on Saturday, and then they'll be at the Lawrenceburg, Kentucky Ham Fest on Sunday. And of course, next weekend they'll be in Huntsville, Alabama. Or you can give them a call. 920-435-2973 is their number, or visit their website at pl-259.com. Be sure to listen to Ham Talk Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at hamtalklive.com. And if you miss the show, you can download the podcast from the website and most popular podcasting websites. Tony Tolbert, W9AMT, became a ham as a teenager in 1996 after experimenting with Citizens Band radio and 49 megahertz radios. And in 2011, he registered the first DMR repeater in Indiana. In 2014, he started the Hoosier DMR Group and its website, HoosierDMR.net, as an informational resource about digital mobile radio. He's currently the trustee of 4 DMR repeaters across Indiana and a technical specialist for the Indiana section of the ARRL. And he also maintains a GMRS repeater in Indianapolis. Tony, welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Well, thank you, Neil. I appreciate the opportunity to come on to your show tonight.
Yeah, I'm really interested in hearing about this because I admit I have not really dived into any of this digital audio stuff on VHF and UHF. So
yeah,
why don't you just start out telling us what DMR is and how that works?
Yeah, that'd be great. So DMR stands for Digital Mobile Radio and is an open digital voice mobile radio standard developed by the European Telecommunication Standards Institute. And the standard was designed for land mobile radio purposes, for radios that operate in the 30 megahertz to 1 gig frequency range. As I said, it was originally designed for commercial purposes. However, the amateur community has adopted it and adopted it quite well just in the 6.5 years that it has been out. So it has expanded faster and stronger and beyond anyone else's cognitive thought that it would have expanded as fast as it had. It has really taken off. It offers some different variants of voice technology over other digital modes. One of which being that it's allows for two simultaneous voice conversations through one repeater, whereas other digital modes like D-Star and System Fusion only allow for one. So the adaptability of the technology has, I think, what has really been the driving force behind it.
Very good. Well, yeah, you mentioned, Fusion and there's D-Star. So with anything that's kind of new, there's a bunch of different standards, and and so why don't you explain a little bit about the differences between all those digital voice modes, D-Star, DMR, and Fusion, and if you think they're all going to coexist, or is one of them going to end up being like a Betamax?
Sure. I still have a Betamax.
Oh, wow. Betamax. Oh, wow.
So D-Star was originally introduced at the first part of the beginning decade, 2000-2001 era. It's actually an open source standard as well, just like DMR. However, it was only adopted by one manufacturer, that being ICOM. As of late, Kenwood has decided that they are going to jump into the digital market as well, and they're going to offer a D-Star product. If anyone was at the Dayton Ham Bench in this last May, they saw the new Kenwood radio. That's the 2-meter, 220, 440 APRS with D-Star built into it. So very exciting stuff to see Kenwood get their feet into the digital market. D-Star was designed by the Japanese Amateur Radio League, and it was the first step or leap into the digital voice mode for amateur radio. And it kind of got a slow start. Equipment was expensive. It was proprietary only to ICOM, as they were paying the royalties to the JARL. And I don't think any of the other manufacturers, Kenwood, Yaesu, had really thought digital would take off quite as fast or as they had hoped. So with the implementation of DMR now, it's being an open source standard, it has really opened the gateway and the floodgates for digital voice modes. I think now that those other technologies have been implemented and the amateur community is kind of embracing the digital voice or radio over IP modes, I think that's kind of the driving force behind Kenwood introducing their D-Star product. 2 years ago, Yaesu introduced their product, System Fusion. Unfortunately, D-Star and DMR and System Fusion and a couple of others out there. There's P25, which is widely used among the public safety realms, and then Kenwood Commercial and ICOM Commercial both carry a product called NXDN, more commonly known as NextEdge. And those are also in the amateur community. However, P25 equipment is a little bit more expensive, being that it's public safety oriented. Those radios tend to carry a higher price tag, so there's not a lot of use on P25 like there are the other digital modes. Unfortunately, like I was saying, D-Star and DMR and Fusion are all different technologies, and with that comes the lack of interoperability between the three. So I don't know that one will prevail over the other. I think they all offer a different feature set and a different offering. So I would be lax to say that DMR might overtake the other two. However, I don't quote me on that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's growing fast in this area, which you've had a lot to do with that. But it seems, at least in this region, to be growing the fastest of the three.
Yeah, we've been very blessed in Indiana, whether it be on the Hoosier DMR network or on the Crossroads network. They're another network that offers DMR technology in our state. We currently have 47 registered repeater IDs in the state of Indiana between Hoosier DMR and Crossroads, and another network that maintains 3 or 4 repeaters up in the Chicagoland, northwestern Indiana region. So we are very blessed with DMR coverage, with a very high user base. We have now over 700 registered DMR users in the state. We have surpassed Ohio and Kentucky and Illinois in usage. So our network alone sees around 350 users on a monthly basis. We have a Tuesday night DMR net on Indiana statewide talk group number 3118, and we have anywhere between 40 and 60 check-ins on that. So the Indiana community has really embraced the new technology, and it's surprising to me that it has been embraced so well, because it's not an amateur technology. As I said, it was originally designed for the commercial LMR market.
Now, can you talk a little bit about, why you would go DMR over D-Star, why you would do Fusion over, DMR, those kind of advantages and disadvantages of those?
Well, I think it really comes down to user preference, Neil. I mean, if you're more of a techie guy and you like experimentation, DMR is definitely a route that you might take. DMR is not one specific vendor selling a product. They now have 25 plus manufacturers of DMR equipment, and that was really why the standard was intended. It was instituted for interoperability, low cost and low complexity. And because of the 25 plus DMR manufacturers in the world, that has really drove the cost of the equipment down. That, I think, is another driving factor that has caused DMR to explode within the amateur community. It's readily available. It's low cost. Just here in Indiana, we have a couple of folks that maintain the programming information. Anytime there's a new repeater to be added, or there's a contacts list, we have a couple of folks that maintain all that for us. So we update those code plug files on our repository on our website. And as a new user, you can go download that information and not have to fumble through the programming for a DMR radio. You can actually look at the programming and learn from how it's built to kind of educate yourself at your own pace to see how it's all put together. It definitely programs a lot different than an amateur technology. System Fusion is also a very wonderful technology. I think it's come by leaps and bounds since its first iteration. Since Yaesu first implemented it, it now has seen some pretty steady growth. And D-Star is also, a steady growing digital technology. It is the oldest child in the basket, but I don't think that we should knock its age by any means. I mean, it is still a very interesting technology. It allows for some different features, and I think all three are definitely a very good way to go. It just depends on what the user wants. If they're, like I said, more of an experimenter, maybe digital or DMR might be the way to go. System Fusion is pretty much right out of the box, ready to go. You program your repeater in. They have an interface called WiresX that allows that repeater or even a radio to connect via the internet into what they are now calling rooms. And D-Star is pretty much right out of the box too. You program your code plug or put your call sign into the radio, and if you're within range of a repeater that offers D-Star technology, it allows you to connect to folks all over the world.
Yeah, now why don't you talk a little bit about that? What are the advantages of all of these digital voice modes over just plain old analog voice modes that, you order the $30 Baofeng, and you're on.
Sure.
But why go digital? What are those advantages of going to a digital mode as opposed to just staying on analog?
Sure. Well, one of the big advantages of digital is the fact that it is digital and it allows that voice to be compressed and sent out over the internet. All of the three major digital manufacturers now, D-Star, DMR, and Fusion, the fixed end equipment, or repeaters rather, if you will, they all allow for internet linking. So D-Star allows they connect into what are called reflectors, and there are reflectors much like Echolink, if you will, or what's the other technology?
IRLP.
IRLP, thank you. You can dial into a reflector and you can talk to a different group of people, and those are sectioned off by locale or geography, if you will. One of the big D-Star reflectors is called 30 Charlie. It's a very popular reflector. A lot of folks talk on that all over the world. Fusion is the same way now that they've implemented their WiresX technology. It allows that radio to access its repeater, and then the repeater will access, again, through DTMF codes or maybe on a fixed basis where the repeater always stays on a specific room. And it allows you to talk into basically a digital voice chat with other hams all over the world. DMR also operates through IP Site Connect or radio over IP technology. However, it's a little different, like I said, being that it's a commercial technology. The DMR networks in the world, again, they have talk groups, if you will, what we call talk groups. And those are based on local areas. Like I said, we have a talk group for our statewide. There's a Midwest. So, again, they're just based on geography. They're based on language. One of the nice things with DMR, like I said previously, is that it allows for 2 simultaneous voice conversations rather than just one. So you may not want to talk to someone, through a nationwide or a worldwide or a regional basis. You can change over to the other time slot or another talk group on the other time slot, and you can talk to someone locally on that repeater or someone through your statewide talk group. So DMR definitely has an advantage, I think, because it offers the 2 simultaneous voice conversations through one repeater.
And that's, I would think that would kind of compare to something like PSK31 where, you've got 8 to 10, conversations going on the same frequency at the same time. Exactly.
DMR is a technology that was based off of, if you remember the days of Nextel, it is time division multiple access, or TDMA. So that's how you get the 2 time slots varying with one another. 2 time slots in a 12.5 kilohertz frequency spectrum. So basically 6.25 kilohertz time slots times 2. And then those alternate back and forth at a rate of 30 milliseconds. So DMR radios, because of their TDMA technology, allow for better battery life. So with the time slots constantly switching, you're not a constant carrier. So you see around 40% better battery life.
Oh, very good. I didn't even think about the battery life being better. So that's another advantage of that. Well, very good. It sounds like some great technology to experiment with, and hopefully you'll be able to do that before long. We're going to take a break. It's time to pay some of the bills, but we'll be back, and we're going to take your calls with Tony right after this message from the Ham Station. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by the Ham Station. For 35 years, the Ham Station has brought new and used radios, antennas, accessories, and equipment to the amateur radio community. Give Jeff or Dan a call at 1-800-729-4373 or order online at hamstation.com. Ham Station carries all the major brands like ICOM, Yaesu, and Kenwood. Shop from a wide selection of radio scanners, MFJ accessories, Heil Sound products, Mirage and Ameritron amplifiers, Cushcraft antennas, and more. Easy online shopping and fast shipping are waiting for you at hamstation.com or call 1-800-729-4373. The Ham Station, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp. I'd like to resonate on your frequency.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. The Ham Station has you covered for both new and used equipment. Give Dan or Jeff a call at 800-729-4373 or visit hamstation.com. And hey, if you're looking to get into DMR, be sure to check out a DMR handheld at the Ham Station. They have the TYT MD380. It's in stock right now at the Ham Station. Be sure to listen to Ham Talk Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on hamtalklive.com. Also check out our Facebook page and our Twitter feed. Just search for Ham Talk Live. Well, it's time to take your questions. So there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Probably the easiest way is just pick up the phone and call 812-NET-HAM-1, 812-638-4261, and you can join us on the show. You can also Skype us at Ham Talk Live. You can tweet to us at Ham Talk Live. And you can also click on the chat button on hamtalklive.com. You can click on that and send in your questions for Tony, W9AMT, who is here. And we do have a call coming in, so let's go ahead and take that. Hello, you're on Ham Talk Live.
Hey, Neil, it's Ryan, KD9DAB.
Oh, very good. We gave you a shout out earlier. Thanks for getting that coax run. And you have a question for us tonight?
Yeah, so I have a question for you. What is the most important and most useful law in ham radio?
Ooh, the most important law in ham radio.
Yep, we're talking about, physical laws of nature.
Well, I guess that'd be electromagnetism.
But what about Murphy's Law?
Well, yeah. Now, being a repeater guy, I know Tony knows about this because I do all the analog repeater stuff, and he's doing all the digital stuff. Murphy is a very real thing, especially when it comes to repeaters. Now we ran into Murphy today running this coax because the connectors didn't want to go through the little pipe and everything, and so Ryan about got heat stroke up in my attic this afternoon. But,
I almost passed out.
Yeah, so Murphy's Law is a very real thing, and we know. Jerry KC9ZAR is the latest to experience the lightning version of Murphy. Any Murphy's Law DMR stories, Tony?
Lots of Murphy's Law. I could take up 2 hours with Murphy's Law DMR stories in your program, Neil.
Yeah, I've got an amplifier right now that will, as soon as it keys up, it will trip the power supply, but you put a load on the power supply, everything's fine. Yeah, that's not
no
good. Clue. Yeah, no clue. Cannot figure it out. So
you need the elusive golden screwdriver for a job like that.
Yeah, or maybe pump some magic smoke in.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned that you can let the smoke out. That's the hardest thing to put back in. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, if you have any antenna problems, I hear that SWR spray away. I hear that's pretty good.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
the spray aways, that's good stuff.
Yeah, they sell that at the flea market with the DVD rewinders and the steel toe flip flops.
Now, Tony, I don't know if you know, but we actually do have a commercial that we played back on April Fool's Week of Spray Away, the SWR reducer in a can.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I got to get some of that.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just stringing a off-center fed dipole, and I put that thing up there, and I was like, man, where's that SWR spray away? We ended up having to, solder some wire to it and extend that thing to get the resonant frequency down. It took forever. I just kind of wanted to string it up there, throw it in the tree, and it worked, but SWR spray away, I recommend it.
Yeah. Boy, wouldn't it be nice?
Would be.
Well, Ryan, nice. Thank you for calling in tonight, and again, thank you for getting the dipole back on. I'm looking forward to getting back on HF from home for a change.
The things I do for ham radio and HF, casually almost getting heat stroke, crawling in multiple attics, stringing coax all over the place.
Oh,
Pulled that all-nighter at field day for HF, so...
Yeah.
The things I do.
So, Ryan, I have a quick question before you buzz off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you, I understand that you just got your license, so congratulations on that. Woohoo. Kudos. Applause all around.
Thank you.
Very good to have you in the amateur community. What, did you go for your tech, or did you get your general, or what level are you right now currently?
my father is the one who just got his license. I got my license about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, he got his technician. He was on CB radio probably 30 years ago, just farting around, and so he always kind of thought about it. And then whenever I got into it because of Neil's club, he kind of got into it with me. So after hanging antennas and all that stuff, he decided to get his tech, and he got it easily.
Well, good.
But I got my tech about a year and a half ago, and then I upgraded to my general at Dayton this past year.
Okay. Well, congratulations on that. Well, pass my congratulations on to your father.
Will do.
So, being he's a new ham, a digital mode might be advantageous to him because he doesn't have HF privileges.
Right.
One of the big promoting factors of digital technology, or even DMR for that matter, is that while he is pretty much limited on his voice capabilities to the HF or to the 2 meter 440 and above, he could easily get into DMR if you're within range of a repeater and have conversations worldwide with people without the capability of HF. So definitely
right.
something.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just definitely something for him to think about if he's interested. So.
Well, absolutely. So, I recently, within the past week, I got into EchoLink.
Okay.
I kind of knew about it, but decided to try it out, and I knew that he has a buddy, Jerry, KC9ZAR, down in Washington, where my dad grew up, and he knew he was a ham, and they grew up together in radio and all that, and so my dad kind of wanted to talk to him, but of course I only have a handheld for 2 meters and 440, so I couldn't get down to Washington. But I used EchoLink through Neil's repeater, and he got to talk to his old buddy through EchoLink. And
that's really cool.
Whenever he got to do that, his eyes lit up. He was so excited. He thought
great.
It was the coolest thing.
Well,
so
see,
I think
that's what amateur radio is all about. It's definitely.
It is.
All right, Ryan.
Something like digital could definitely, kind of get him into it more. I definitely think that's true.
Now, we've got a tweet here that kind of relates to what we're talking about here from W9AMT, and he wants to know what's the best DMR for someone who is new to DMR, but isn't new to digital radio. He says the Aries guys near him swear by Moto Solutions. So if it's somebody that's new to DMR, what do you suggest?
Well, I mean, it really just depends on how much they want to spend, really. That's what it comes down to, a price factor. With 25 plus manufacturers worldwide, some of the most popular brands are, Motorola. Vertex Standard has a DMR product that is comparable to everyone else. Connect Systems, Jerry with Connect Systems has some very good products. Titera is a very good product for entry level. Like you said, with the ham station, they've got the MD380. That's a very good product. Them with a few other accessible dealers in Indiana. Those are very good radio for an entry level. If money is no object, I would say go with a Motorola. I spent 5 years with a Motorola service station in Indianapolis, a very large Motorola dealer in the state of Indiana. And that's kind of how I got started with DMR. I learned about the product. I studied it, selling it and servicing it in the LMR community, and then finding out that it's been implemented in the amateur community. It was like Christmas morning. So I would say if money is no object, go with a Motorola product. You can't go wrong with it. Built like a tank. The unfortunate thing with Motorola is that they charge for everything. So you will have to pay for a programming cable, and they do have some fees for their licensing for their software. Some of the other products, such as Titera, the Connect Systems radios, they offer their software for free. So, again, I think it just comes down to how many dollars you want to spend.
All right, very good. Well, Ryan, maybe you need to think about some DMR stuff.
I'll definitely think about it. I've been looking to get into digital HF. Big thing for me is I just don't want to choke up the money for a sound card interface. They're so ridiculously overpriced, but that's another story. But I've been thinking about getting into PSK. I enjoy it.
Now, actually, that brings up something that we were talking about before the show started. Tony, why don't you talk a little bit about the dongle thing?
Yeah, so D-Star has had dongle technology for quite some time now. They call that a DVAP, I believe, is what the D-Star version was. A dongle basically is nothing more than a radio, a digital radio, broadcasts on a frequency, and it's an interface for you to operate your digital radio, whether it be D-Star, System Fusion, DMR. They are testing some P25, and they have just recently introduced a NextEdge variant as well into the interface. And it allows you, if you're not within range of a repeater, to be able to access digital modes via your computer. Kind of looks like a very large thumb drive. If you remember thumb drives when they first came out, they were 3 or 4 inches long and quite bulky. Now I can't seem to keep track of any of the thumb drives I have because they've all gotten too small. So they has a SMA antenna jack on it for your antenna, and basically it converts your computer into a radio over IP interface. There's a graphic user interface. It allows you to select different talk groups or reflectors depending on which mode you operate with it. There's a huge community now for support. They are constantly adding new features to it. Although it's a newer technology within the last couple of years, it has come by leaps and bounds. And it is a very cool way to experience digital if you don't live within range of a digital repeater, whether that be a D-Star or DMR or Fusion.
So there's another option for you, Ryan.
Yeah, so let me just clarify. So pretty much with this dongle, you plug it into your computer, and you make your own D-Star/DMR repeater on your computer.
Right. It basically is if you think of it as a hotspot, if you will. It only broadcasts at 12 milliwatts, or at least the version that I have broadcasts at 12 milliwatts. So it doesn't have a lot of range. If you get more than about 30 or 40 feet away from it, you kind of lose it. But yeah, I mean,
so you're making your personal gateway.
Right. Basically, that's exactly it. You've created a digital voice gateway via your computer.
That's something I could get into.
Yeah, if you the product that I have is called a DV4 Mini, Delta Victor 4 Mini, and it's it allows for the implementation of several different digital technologies. So if you do a search on Google for it, or if you go onto Facebook and do a Facebook search for DV4, there's a lot of support groups that surround it. Lots of technical minds, much smarter than me. So, yeah, it's definitely a cool technology. I just recently bought into it, and I'm very impressed with it.
Okay, very now, nice. Jerry Purcell, we were talking about him, KC9ZAR, is rebuilding his analog system, and he has a question. Do we need a DMR repeater in Washington, Indiana? So, Tony, since you know the Hoosier DMR network, what's the coverage down in that area?
I will echo what was told to me once by Greg Dean, N9NWO. He once told me that I think we need a DMR repeater in every county in the state of Indiana. So that's my official answer. I think we should have a DMR repeater in Washington. I'm working on trying to move my Bloomington repeater to a better home with a little bit more height, and I think to offer DMR along the I-69 corridor between Indianapolis and Evansville, Washington would definitely be a prime location for that.
Well, there you go, Jerry. There's another project for you.
Just what Jerry needs, another project.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're just about to run out of time here, so if you've got a question, fire it in here in the chat room or on Twitter at Ham Talk Live, and we'll see if we can squeeze it in. We just have a couple of minutes remaining. But Ryan, thanks for giving us a call.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Tony.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate the call, and again, pass on my my congratulatory remarks to your father.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, Jerry says it's only time and money.
Time. Those are the two big things: time and money.
Yeah, I've done a lot with the wide area analog system, and we're kind of tearing some of that stuff, back a little bit. And,
yeah.
It's time and money. So thanks, Tony. Some really good information tonight. We're glad that you had a chance to come on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And tell us a little bit about DMR, and we'll have to get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, anytime you have any questions, you can give me a call. I'm always available. So
yeah, actually, before we go, why don't you give out your contact information?
Yeah, absolutely. I am. You can find me on Facebook. It is facebook.com/W9AMT. And you can also, if you'd like, shoot me an email, W9AMT@comcast.net.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming on this evening and filling us in on DMR.
My pleasure. Thank you, Neil.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. I'd like to thank my guest, Tony Tolbert, W9AMT, and everyone for listening and calling in, and invite you all back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And our guest will be Charlie Emerson, in for OKL. He's the chairman of the Huntsville Ham Fest, and he'll be here to talk about the upcoming Huntsville Ham Fest next weekend. For a list of all of our upcoming guests, be sure to visit hamtalklive.com. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.